A young girl with severe disabilities is struck down by seemingly supernatural forces. When found, she is seen in a position of prayer with her eyes burned out.
Being wheelchair-bound, how did she manage to get outside? Scully embarks on a journey of heavenly and personal revelation.
This is not him.
Can I help you?
Father Gregory?
Yes.
I'm Dana Scully. We hear about the death of Paula Koklos. Are you all right, Father?
I was trying to adopt Paula. I'm sure you knew that.
We hear you were very anxious to do so.
I hope to God you're not suggesting I had something to do with it.
Why adopt her?
But you think I was interested in harming her?
Why adopt her?
I was trying to protect her. I knew her mother.
Do you know where she is?
Yes.
We were looking for her name. It's not listed on the girl's birth records.
Why would you want it?
The other two girls may be in danger. We're hoping that she might be able to help us find them.
Their mother died in childbirth.
Can you give us a name?
When I was a priest in the Roman Church, before I founded my own, I was her confessor. Divulging her name would violate the code of my faith. And yours, I see.
You said you wanted to protect Paula. From what?
Whatever your intentions, your secular prejudices blind you from seeing what's really happening here. Two girls are dead, not by the hand of man. Unless you accept the truth of God's teachings that there is a struggle between good and evil for all souls, and that we are losing that struggle, you're but fools rushing in. You put your own lives in danger, as well as the lives of the messengers. I have nothing more to say.
I brought Agent Mulder on the case to help temper my feelings, to keep them from clouding my judgment. I wouldn't admit it to him, but as we stood there, I felt as if Father Gregory were speaking directly to me, in a language only I could understand.
The messengers.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Mike, and joining me today is Andrew.
Got all them souls. All the souls. Both souls.
Andrew with the puns already.
Listen.
But not actual puns.
No, you can't do a pun where you just repeat the same word. And the episode titles have been very bad for that lately, I gotta say.
I'm a little disappointed with your effort
I think
here.
it's been the last 6 where we got nothing to work with.
Well,
I will.
That's your homework, okay?
Right.
By the end of this episode, you got to have a good one.
I will dig deep.
All right. As you may have guessed, we are covering All Souls, written by Dan Angel and Billy Brown. To my understanding, this is their only real credits other than story editors.
Storyboard editors, in fact.
Yeah.
I don't know what that role is on the show, but anyway, they left in 97, so I guess this is their parting shot. But yeah, they wrote the story, and then it was adapted for a teleplay by Spot Hits and Shaban. So, obviously a good enough story that they were, it was brought up the chain and perfected by some good writers.
Mm-hmm. Directed by Alan Coulter.
Another one off. Yeah. He does a few episodes in Millennium, though.
He does.
But this is not a Millennium podcast.
This is not a Millennium podcast. Although half of that sentence is part of the show.
It's not happening.
So diving right in, it is nighttime and a car pulls up to a house. We see that it is a priest. He walks to the door where people are indeed waiting for him. He asks if she's ready and they let him in. He begins the ritual of baptizing this young girl. She's in her teens and she is wheelchair bound with severe mental and physical disabilities. Later that evening, it begins storming. We see the young girl surprisingly get out of bed. We get a quick glance at her feet as she does so, and we notice she has 6 toes on each foot. A noise of her getting out of bed wakes up her father. He calls to her, but she doesn't answer. He goes to her room and she is gone. Disturbed, he rushes to the window to find her walking out in the street, drenched in rain. As she walks, a figure stands in front of her in the road. Suddenly, she falls to her knees, raises her hands in genuflection, and with a flash of lightning, the figure is gone. Her father rushes towards her, calling her name. When he arrives, she is indeed dead, and her eyes have been burned out. She is still in the genuflecting position. He cradles her as he screams to the sky, Dara.
Dara. Nothing good ever happens in thunder and lightning. Whenever there's thunder and lightning, bad things happen.
Bad things happen. Gotta avoid it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Just move to another state where there is no lightning.
Someone's getting murdered or getting smote by Jesus.
And it's serious lightning. I'm reviewing the open now.
Yeah.
It is serious lightning. And that shot of the 6 toes, that's pretty sweet.
It's not bad.
Whether it's legit, somebody actually has 6 toes, or whether they've...
Oh, that's totally prosthetic.
Yeah?
You can tell. I mean, I try to be as accurate as I can be with effects. People are often astounded by how I can tell if something's fake or not. But I'm pretty sure that's fake.
That's okay.
Mike is done filleting himself.
He has not even begun, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it interesting? Is it crap? Is it... What do you feel?
My issue with it is it makes no sense with the episode that will come. Mm-hmm. Because in the next bunch of killings, you don't see them leaving miraculously and going out into a thunder and lightning storm to get done dirty by the seraphim. I don't know. Is that what we're going to call our official antagonist here? Mm-hmm. I mean, even that will take a long time to figure out who is doing this, but it doesn't happen. The murders that follow of the quadruplets, we establish a mold of how the first one happens, and then the second and third and fourth ones do not follow that mold. Like, he just comes to them and does them. That's it. So why do we have to have this whole thing of her getting up in the middle of the night and walking out where she could not walk before and seeing the guy in the middle of the street? It makes for good TV, but it does not subscribe to its own logic. So that's my issue there.
I like those sentiments. I think it is an interesting opening, but again, like you say, Andrew, it's not always subscribing to what the other victims deal with. I will say that I think towards the end, they come back to that a little bit with the fact that the other girls walk towards their seraphim person.
Sure.
It's not as dramatic, for sure, but I get what you're saying.
Like I say, it makes for an engaging opener. I think they had a lot of cramming sessions to make a cool opening sequence and thought, and then this could happen, If the dude just showed up in her bedroom at the foot of the bed and spread his arms wide and blammo, she's got black burning eyeballs, I guess that would have been cool too, but it's not as cool as thunder and lightning storm and raining outside and all this stuff happened. And the fact that she's walking when she couldn't walk before.
Yeah.
Sure.
We open back from the credits and we are in church, St. John's. Scully enters. She takes a glance at a photo of Emily, her fake daughter from earlier in the season, and she enters a confessional. She seems torn in this moment. She tells the father her work has been conflicting with her faith recently, and that she regales a story that she was at Easter Sunday service last week, and Father McHugh, the same McHugh in the other episodes, he approached her to help a family who has suffered a tragedy. And she also tells this priest that she had a daughter who died suddenly. The priest puts 2 and 2 together and says that McHugh thought maybe helping this family might help her find some closure with her own loss. As she begins crying, she comes back to saying that an innocent girl is dead because of her, and she could have saved her, but she let her die.
I take strong exception to that, the way she casts those events, because it's just wrong. Like, I know they literally did tack this sequence on. They did the whole episode, and then they thought it didn't really explore her arc well enough or something. So they wrote 8 pages and did this whole confessional sequence to kind of tie it all together. And it does kind of make it work, arguably better than it might have without it. And then she said, I need a day with this stuff. I can't, produce on demand when you just give me these pages today. So they gave her a day. But
how nice.
I just, when you go through the episode and you get to the end and you see how it ends, I just flat out reject that she says an innocent girl, she let an innocent girl die. That did not happen. She tried and then ultimately allowed the girl to go to heaven, apparently. So, I mean, is that not a good thing?
Yeah, I understand. I've always disliked as well that she casts herself as some sort of heartless person here. That's the vibe I always got from it. Like, I think she's taking it a little too hard.
But you see how, like, where it's positioned, though, in the setup, like, she's having the confessional, and the scene literally ends with her saying, an innocent girl, I let an innocent girl die. And then we're on to the next. So it's meant to be this high point to end the scene on of like, oh, how did you let an innocent girl die, Dana? That would never happen. That's what we're all thinking.
Right, yeah.
But it's just not true. I don't know how she remembers, does she have PTSD? Does she think that, the lightning bolt hit the girl somehow and she could have stopped it from happening? I don't know. It's just weird. I will get this right out there. I did not like this episode purely from the structural point of view, like how it was written and how it was cut and everything. I didn't mind what they tried to do. I mean, it does present some interesting ideas, but it's just not well done, and maybe it's because we've got a director that comes in for this one episode and he hasn't done anything previously, and we've got this weird story that was developed by 2 guys and polished by some guys we like, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And this is clearly a case also where they needed to fill some time when, Dee Dee had to go off and do some reshoots for the movie because it's a big Dana episode. So anyway.
Put a cap around this sadness. Joseph Patrick Finn plays the priest, and he also plays the chaplain on The List. And he also makes an appearance in the second movie. And he's another priest, so obviously he fills a role.
I do a lot of priests.
I will point out also another actor who is not a recurring actor, but Eric Keenlyside, who plays the father of Dara. No other characters, again, in the show, but is well known as the moody and rude truck driver from Short Circuit 2.
Is he?
One of his best roles, ladies and gentlemen. He's on the screen for 10 seconds.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, all loaded. 1,000 toy robots.
Is that it, Robbie? You enjoying planet Earth?
What?
Take me to your leader.
Ooh, what's this? Huh?
Hey.
This is XL7. Over and out.
No, he does a good job. It's so ridiculous that I recognized him from that. So I had to put that in there.
He does moodily look out the window when he's interviewed later. So, I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah. That's a window. I'm just going to stare at it for 5 minutes.
If I hadn't looked at that window, Dara would still be alive. You're looking out thinking about, I should really set up the sprinkler today.
Now that Dara's gone, I got some new money. I'm gonna
we insured her for $2 million.
Do the gutters.
I mean, it's kind of a fool's bet.
All right, steering back to course here. We cut back. It's a flashback to Easter Sunday. Father McHugh calls to Scully as she leaves service. He clearly is taking advantage of her attendance by dropping homework on her. The police have not been able to help the Kernoffs with the strange and sudden death of their daughter Dara, and he asks her to meet with them. Actually, he assumes that she's going to meet with them after he tells her the story. but she obliges. We cut to the Kernoffs, and Mrs. Kernoff is showing Scully a birthday photo of Dara.
That's Dara on her 16th birthday. We couldn't have children of our own. I persuaded Lance 6 years ago to adopt. First, he was reluctant to accept a special needs child, but he became so attached to her. And this happens. You make the choice never imagining something like this, or how vulnerable you are. Dara had just been baptized. I know in my heart she's gone to a better place, but Lance is angry. Angry at God. They say time heals.
Father McHugh said that you've been having trouble getting much information about what might have happened to her.
They say now she may have been struck by lightning, but no one seems to know for sure. How she even got out of the house onto the street is a mystery.
What do you mean?
Dara suffered from congenital spinal deformities. She's been wheelchair-bound her whole life.
Could somebody have taken her out of her room?
Lance said he saw her walking, and when he found her, she was on her knees praying. I think that's the hardest part for my husband. He'll never understand how God could forsake the life of an innocent girl. How God in his mercy could let this happen to our Dara.
Mom seems to be taking it just fine. If I have to comment.
She's making tea. She's got some scones.
Just another Sunday.
Yep. Yep. I'm really hoping they've got tea there.
Yeah.
She is pouring tea. She's totally pouring tea. That looks like tea pouring vibes.
Yep, I see it.
Can't see it. I see her arm.
It can't be anything but tea.
Either that or she's putting down photographs, all these photographs, but I will keep an eye out as you talk. I will keep an eye on the scene to see if a teacup gets raised.
As she's relaying this information to Scully, she keeps sneaking glances at Lance.
Looking at the window.
Lance glances, if you will. He's apparently her type because she's looking at him in a really strange way. But
G Lances, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have so many cuts back to Lance at the window. It's not that interesting.
Look at him. He's looking down. He's like, the weeds are getting out of hand. Shit.
God. I really wish they'd thrown us a red herring of actually it was Lance doing it for the insurance money.
He just like throws a bunch of metal objects in her nightgown pockets and sends her out to the street.
Sends her into a storm.
Oh, fuck.
How to make this a better episode, yeah.
As Scully Lance glances, we cut back to the confessional. I'm such a child.
You have to clip this one. That was good.
Breath. Okay. Scully gives some more internal monologue to the priest. What I attribute to be monologue. She's talking about how the mother was talking about her husband, but she could have been talking about her because she's angry at God about her own child who was killed, and how could God let that happen? So she feels drawn to these people just, because of their difficulties, and she mentions that above all else, she is a scientist, and even though she has faith, she must rely on evidence. But it only teaches us how and not why.
I think it teaches you why. I think I will just point out that, any good university would probably go into the why.
We cut back to the coroner. This is again a flashback. The coroner guesses it was lightning, but the arc was only in Dara's face. She was also kneeling. And then she asks suddenly if Scully's a religious person and says, I haven't gone to church since I was a little girl, but I'll tell you, I went last week after this case. So it's obviously provoking feelings in multiple people, the death of this young woman.
Sorry, did you say that the coroner said that the lightning strike hit the head? Mm-hmm. Only the head?
She said that the arcing was only through the face. I'm almost positive I got that right.
Yeah, I think you did too. And I didn't twig on this when I watched it, but I'm twigging on it now thinking, I've seen what lightning does to trees. If the lightning bolt hit you in the face, you'd have like a neck, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't know.
My argument is that it's only the chicks that get to have religion. That's how the episode will canonically refer to them. But you know what I mean? It's like if you're a dude, you are strong and get to look out a window. You don't get to, think long and deep about, unless you're a priest, I suppose. you get to feel things and think things, but if you're Mulder, you are immune to this unless you get to shed sister tears. That's what this show does to you.
It is bat to a dead horse about what's happening in this episode.
I wish we had the coroner. I can't even remember what episode she was in. The one who's like, he was dead because that's what the toe tag said.
That's what the toe tag said.
I wish we had her because, oh my God, that would have made this episode so much better. Took a lightning strike to the eyeballs. Haven't seen that before.
That's what happened.
Because that's what. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I mean, in 98 or 97, I suppose, you might get away with it. But now it's like you're saying that these disabled kids are good targets for lightning strikes, or, that God struck them down. It's like, oh, no, it's problematic.
Well, I should mention she was not in her wheelchair, so she was less likely to be struck by lightning.
True. It's true. She had a miraculous recovery after being baptized, only to get struck by lightning. I mean, come on, show.
How dare you?
I liked her better when she was in the wheelchair. Yeah. I'll put you back in that chair, all right.
You're using your
it's a
new
weird
gift.
episode. It's a weird episode.
Oh, boy.
See if we can get through it.
Okay. So the coroner says she had to do her examination with Dara still in the kneeling position due to rigor. Scully examines photos and notices scars of Dara's hands. This is where we find out she was indeed polydactyl. And Scully, despite everything the coroner has to say, is struggling to see what the connections are. And the coroner says it's as if God himself struck her down. A little strange.
If we didn't know this is a religious episode before, we know it now.
Yeah. Scully asks if she knows who the birth mother is, and no, not at this time. We go from here to the state psychiatric hospital. We see a car pull up. A gentleman gets out and heads inside. But before he gets inside, the camera pans up and we see an inverted crucifix hanging from his rear view. Ooh.
It's a Cutlass Sierra, by the way.
Cutlass Sierra. My friend had one of these. Inside, a little boy is walked down the hall by an orderly. Oh, wait, no, that's the man who just arrived. This guy, I'm sorry, Father Gregory looks like a child in a suit.
It's because the orderly is giant, though.
No, just the whole episode. Look at this guy's face. I no offense to the actor. I'm sorry. But he looks like a little boy
He does.
in a giant suit in this episode. The orderly escorts him to a room with another teenager. This apparently is the same family as Dara. We see her crawling around on the ground, and she has 6 fingers as well. Before they can open the door, a man calls from down the hall, trying to stop them. He asks for Father Gregory and introduces himself as Aaron Starkey from Social Services. He is objecting to her being adopted at just this time because there was a mix-up of some sort. The father is upset by this and leaves the conversation because Starkey says, no, I can't let you adopt her right now because I have just been assigned this case and I have not given it my approval. So somehow it got all the way up to a judge.
Of course, the devil is in the bureaucracy.
I see what you did there.
Did I just blow it? Did I spoil it?
The little kid stamps his feet and leaves.
That little backward glance, though, that Starkey gives shows us that he is not a good...
Exactly.
man.
You know, as the little kid leaves, Starkey glances back, but the camera lingers on him a little bit, and you know something's wrong. He doesn't do anything to make us think something's wrong, but the extra second or two that the camera lingers there, we suspect. Fuddy-duddy.
A little cloud is following him. No, that is a significant glance, TM, being cast by Agent Starkey.
After creepy glance, Scully is reviewing Kurnoff photos. She pulls out a picture of Emily again, as if we weren't sure she was conflicted. So they've been carrying this one around.
They had the prop kicking around, yeah.
Mm-hmm. The phone rings, and it's Mulder in a phone booth. She wants to ask him for a favor. She beats around the bush a little bit, and he says, look, I'm trailing someone. Can you kind of speed it up a little bit? She asks for birth and adoption records for Dara. The camera pans around slowly, and as they hang up, it is revealed that it's a XXX theater that he's running back into. I don't count this as asshole Mulder yet. I think it's just funny. This was a good reveal. It was enjoyable. A little weird. I think ultimately it's like, this is my only X-Files credit, so I want to sneak in a Mulder's pervy joke. Because it's really has no place in the episode. It's just humorous, I guess. But
so you don't think he's actually trailing a suspect? Do you think he's
no, not at all. I mean, maybe
a decade of dirty delinquents?
That's awesome. That's a good movie.
I knew Mulder wasn't on the clock because he's not wearing a suit and tie. He's just wearing his leather jacket. All right, jury's out. Maybe he's actually tailing a suspect.
It's possible, but I don't think he is. So we cut back to the state psychiatric hospital. It is at night, and it's raining outside. There's the young girl in the cell once more. She's huddled in the corner, rocking back and forth. A man approaches her door. We don't see who it is, but he opens the door to Paula Kuklos's cell. As soon as he enters, she begins genuflecting, and she is smote. Commercial.
Okay, couple things. They make a big deal about unlocking the door because the orderly has to go and do it. But this priest ostensibly are, whoever is causing the smiting. We don't know who it is.
We don't know who it is, but I mean, I don't think this thing needs a key.
Yes. I think you are onto something there. I will buy that it does not need a thing, given that I am led to assume the logic of the episode later will give us the detail. It does not give us it now, but this is the seraphim who is calling back its Nephilim to heaven or whatever. It's doing its angel job. So yes, it can break into any door and do anything it needs to get to where it needs. So why didn't it break into Dara's bedroom and do it there as opposed to call her out? And I mean, I've already voiced this objection.
Maybe it likes variety, Andrew.
Knees. True.
This is its only job, and it only gets 4 opportunities, so you got to make them each count.
Far beyond the question of why wait until 1997 to do this, but anyway, let's just assume that it's happening for a reason.
That's a deleted scene. He's up in heaven going through some paperwork. Wait!
Oh, we missed. Holy crap. I went down for a one-night stand, and it turns out I've got quadruplets. I got to go down and call them back to heaven.
I better get rid of them before God finds out.
And that's right. My angelic wife can't know about this. I've got to abscond.
Mrs. Seraphim would not be happy.
She not again. I've been sleeping on the couch for 2 millennia.
Okay. Moving on.
I like the direction this is going.
Every scene we do this, it's pretty good.
Yeah. There's a lot more scenes too.
Coming back from commercial, the shot opens on Paula's dead face.
Sorry. Wait, I'm sorry. Before you skewer this scene, I need one more bit. Are we meant to think that this is Father Gregory that's come back to do this? Is that was the impression I was left with?
Yeah. They're definitely trying to make us go that direction.
Yeah, even though the camera lingered on a social worker Starkey, it's definitely a guy in a priest outfit. Yeah, okay. Yes, costume as it were.
Spirit Halloween.
Yeah. Sexy priest.
I didn't see any lace on it though.
Men don't get the sexy costumes.
Oh.
Nope.
Her eyes have been burnt out, just like Dara's. Scully's there and notices an upside-down cross hanging in her room. It is the same one we saw in the car. In walks Mulder. He brings information that she was indeed a quadruplet, not just a twin. Mulder notices the cross and claims it's strange that it's here. It is sacrilege against the church. He asks if it's possible that the victim placed it there. And Mulder offers the first of his professional opinions in this episode. He's noticing all the religious symbolism stacking up already, and he's letting Scully know that she's dealing with a wacko. She was initially trying to keep the case away from him, but it's becoming clearer and clearer she might need his help. He believes this killer is working from ancient scripture, and he may even think he's doing God's work. And just then, Starkey walks in asking some questions. Scully asks him about the cross, and he doesn't know where it came from. He offers information that she was about to be adopted, and here is where we cut to Father Gregory.
Mm-hmm. It's that Starkey putting some blame out there.
Yep. Misleading our agents.
Yep.
They arrive at Father Starkey's place of business, his own little church. It's not a very good-looking church. It's more like a shack, but...
Are you making a comment about churches?
No. This thing is very... This church is very run down, but this is how it starts, ladies and gentlemen. Mulder picks up a crudely assembled tome of pages titled St. Peter the Sinner with a large inverted crucifix on the front. Shows it to Scully, and we get a view from behind a wall, and someone is watching them. In comes Father Gregory. Scully informs him of Paula's death, and he puts a hand to his mouth in distress. Mulder's analyzing him immediately, isn't he? He is looking at him like, you are a son of a bitch. All the signs point to you right now.
You are my guy. Superpower activated.
We hear you were very anxious to adopt her, and Gregory immediately takes exception to this because it implies that he is the one who harmed her. Uh-oh.
Well, and this has been happening I'm sorry. For me, every time one of the priests says something remotely lugubrious, it's like, yeah, well, of course, right? So when we have this moment of Father Gregory, saying, yes, I was going to adopt her, you immediately think, oh, what are you adopting her for, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what our modern view of religion has brought us to?
Unfortunately.
Well, and also I did like the view, the hidden camera view, the creature that is looking at them through the slats, whatever it is. I mean,
words.
It's clearly meant to be, there's a monster looking at you in this moment. When, of course, later on we'll know it's another Nephilim.
So Mulder presses the little boy on why he wanted to adopt her. And he knew her mother. She, unfortunately, has died. Scully asks for the information about the mom, but he refuses because as her priest, he was also her confidant, and he cannot divulge that information because, sure, why not? Mulder says, you wanted to protect Paula, but from what? 2 girls are dead, not by the hand of man. The priest goes on a little bit of a tirade here where there's a struggle between heaven and hell, and unless we get our heads out of our asses, it'll be too late. Essentially.
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Tall talk for such a young child, but...
Oh, God.
Gregory now removes himself from the conversation, and we cut from here to the confessional again. She brought Mulder in to temper her emotions, Scully says. She felt that Gregory, again, someone else, was speaking directly to her, and she remembers the messengers. It's a short little scene, and then we cut back. Mulder immediately labels him as a paranoid person as they leave. If he's not your killer, he's definitely hiding something. He knew the mother, but he's not giving up the name. Maybe she's still alive. You can at least bring him in for questioning. His big beef right now is that it has masqueraded as paranormal to justify all the crap that happens because of it. Scully kind of pushes back on this. She says, I was taught that God has his reasons. Well, he must use a lot of psychotics to carry out his orders, Mulder says.
Yeah, nice touch. I mean, there's a huge rabbit hole to go down there with the whole God has his reasons argument.
Mm-hmm.
Which the episode wisely does not decide to go down.
Yeah, it's bothersome that Scully would even say that. I mean, I know they have to have this back and forth for different beliefs about the subject, but, it's just, you're in the middle of a murder case. Mm-hmm. Let's not bring that into play here.
Well, the worst part is that they have absolutely no idea how the murders were committed. And they're clearly murders now. Like the first one you might be able to ascribe to accident, to hazard for being outside in a lightning thunderstorm. But the second one, no way. I mean, at this point,
locked cell, same thing.
Yeah, call Guinness or, whatever. Like, how on earth did this happen? That line of thinking is not really explored, like the method for how this was done.
From here, we go back to the coroner, and we have Scully performing an autopsy. She's examining the girl externally, and she notices that she indeed also has 6 digits on her hands and feet. Also, a bony protrusion on both shoulder blades, which gives her pause. When she turns from an x-ray she's looking at, she sees Emily in Paula's place. For a moment, she blinks and it's gone. She sobs for a second, looks back, and Emily again is there. And this time she says, "Mommy, please." And this is where Scully breaks down completely. Back at the confessional, ladies and gentlemen, bouncing back and forth. She says, "It was just in my head, a hallucination, but I was meant to see her for a purpose, to save these girls."
Can I just say that this whole scene is garbage? Like,
yes.
I mean, I know that bringing Emily back to have an emotional appeal here, and I'm glad that they did bring her back at the end, I suppose, to make it sort of connect. But again, why is this happening to Dana? That will be my question for the entire episode is why is she put into this position? What is she meant to do? Like, why is she having these hallucinations, if you want, or visions, I suppose, is a kinder way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the end, I don't think she does anything to either help the angelic forces here or hinder the demonic forces. And listen, you can have an episode where your character just witnesses something, and that is the journey that the audience will have. But I think we hold these characters to a higher standard, right? That they need to do something. And this is a clear case of the characters not being able to do anything.
Fair. From the confessional, we go to Scully. Mulder's calling. He has a lead on the third sister, and she's in D.C. Starkey is actually helping him canvass the area. She mentions that she found something wing-like on the deceased Paula, and he makes a joke that maybe she flew here because he's playing down in a very dickish way that she's having religious concerns here. This is probably Mulder's biggest dick move in this episode, I think. He really does not give a shit that this is important to Scully, which is unfortunate to say the least.
What I want to know is why Mulder's invested at this point.
I think he's invested because he thinks there is indeed a killer on the loose. Yeah. And he's killing innocent people. So he is doing what he thinks is the noble thing by trying to pursue it and resolve it.
Yeah.
What is your reservation as to why Mulder's there, if I may ask?
Well, Scully cares about what's going on here. I don't know what's driving Mulder other than, well, I guess the reason is
the case.
There's some fascinating deaths here. Like unexplained deaths would certainly bring him on board as to the reason. And I actually can totally accept him being, with his dick responses, because any aspect which lends it that the answer is they're angels does not compute for him. He wants to find, and again, weird role reversal, he wants to find the logical reason for why this is happening here, or the phenomenon which cannot be explained that he wants to shine some light on. So, he is not willing to allow religion to be the answer because it is not going to work for him. So I guess that is the motivation for why he's there, and why he can also put down her beliefs in this case. So I guess I'm a bit more forgiving in his characterization right now as being a dickhead.
Yeah, we have to call a spade a spade. I mean, she is very dismissive of the things he has to say a lot. Yeah, I will say he goes about it in a very different way. Disrespectful of someone that you care about the way he does, and the way she does him. They've been together now for almost 5 years, and it's, you'd think they would interact a different way.
Yeah.
Especially on something that is obviously causing her pain
She hasn't let him in on that pain, though. She hasn't mentioned Emily.
No, she has not.
Yeah. So
That's true.
I think if she had done that, he would realize that this is more than just, a favor that she's doing for somebody else, right? Or an interesting case that she's brought to his attention.
Yeah. And I guess to counter what I just said, as soon as he does offer some consolation. He tries for a moment, to be respectful and maybe ask her to back away from the case because it's affecting her. But
yeah,
that's ahead.
That's coming up.
So Mulder believes they have found the location they're looking for. He peers inside of a car and sees another inverted crucifix. Starkey goes in.
But this is the same one, isn't it? Aren't we confirming that this is Father Gregory's Cutlass Sierra with that's the purpose of that shot, right? Is to acknowledge that this is in fact Father Gregory on the scene again?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's another one of those red herrings that's like, okay, he's there, but yeah. We get a shot of another girl inside the abandoned building, and she appears to be hiding from them. There's another figure that approaches. It does its thing, bright lights and smiting. She kneels like her sisters and genuflects, and with a slight view of a kind of like a grotesque face on the man or the figure, which is the first time we get a shot of who it might be or what it might be.
Yeah.
Mulder enters the building unaware, and as he investigates, he suddenly spots Father Gregory and pulls his gun. Gregory says, "You're too late. The girl is dead." Mulder looks, and sure enough, she looks just like her sisters, genuflecting and dead with her eyes burned out.
I don't know. If we're painting Gregory as the suspect, wouldn't the first move be to put him in cuffs?
No, what you want to do is leave him as you investigate the room and take your gun off of him.
Yeah. You want him to be behind you where you are defenseless against him.
Well, I mean, he really can't get away. He's going to trip over those clothes because they're too big for him. So he's got nowhere to go. Mulder can catch him, no problem.
He's his own worst enemy. Yeah.
We cut to the interrogation. Mulder is asking questions as Gregory is praying.
What are you asking for, Father? Mercy or forgiveness? Please forgive them. They say when you talk to God, it's prayer, but when God talks to you, it's schizophrenia. What is your God telling you, Father?
I pray for the girls' souls.
Oh, you pray for their souls now. That's convenient.
I'm immune to your mockery. You're not interested in the truth.
I am only interested in the truth. I would like to know why you did what you did to 3 defenseless, helpless young girls. What in your sick mind would possess you to burn their eyes out? Did they see you for who you are, like I do? What does this mean, Father?
Tell him what it is. St. Peter. You know the story. St. Peter on the cross.
St. Peter would only be crucified upside down, out of humility towards Christ.
I've risked my life to protect their precious souls, which the devil has sought to claim for his own. He took 2 before I could reach them, and I was too late to save the 3rd.
Agents Mulder and Scully?
You know. You've already guessed what they are. The last one is still out there. The devil is here. And if he finds her, his victory will be complete.
This is my second big dislike for this episode. Is here, more than halfway through the episode, is where our stakes are being laid out. In that this is now a battle between heaven and hell, between God and the devil, and that if he finds her, his victory will be complete. That is the extent of what this fight is supposed to be. Except, is that suggesting then that even this guy, Father Gregory, is accepting that the devil has been the one that has been killing these 6-fingered, 6-toed Nephilim girls? So he's not up on his story of the Seraphim and the Nephilim.
Yeah, he's mistaken himself. I understand what you're saying. There are two forms of thought here at play. A, that he's guilty, and B, that Gregory's not guilty, but he's also believing that the devil has been killing these girls.
Yeah.
So they're both wrong.
Yeah. And anyway, I'll say more about it later when we get the explanation for the story, when the plot details are revealed about the Seraphim and the Nephilim and why this is happening. But like, it's so vague, the idea that if he finds her, his victory will be complete. You know, it's like, well, what?
Yeah.
So if the devil finds one of these girls and kills them, then it's somehow bad for the world? Like, it's just,
the end game is not clear at all. Like,
Yeah.
I assume because it's the devil, we're supposed to just go, oh man, any victory for him is bad news.
yeah.
But what's on the line here? Aside from 4 lives, but what do those lives mean in the greater scheme of the world, you know? We cut to the confessional. Scully admits that she actually believed Father Gregory, but that she was meant to save the girl. So she disagrees on that front. She said she doesn't believe that the devil was there to take them, but the threat was real. We go back to the police office. Mulder relays information about the girl's father and adoption services. He tells Scully not to let this guy get to her head. He knows where she is. You're being misled. But Mulder says, no, I think you're being misled by all this religious stuff and your connection to this case. I've never seen you more susceptible or easily manipulated, and I don't know what's going on. And this is where Scully says, I saw Emily, and Mulder puts a hand on her shoulder and consoles her and advises her to step away. You're losing objectivity. The usual trope. She tells him to go find the girl. She's going to finish up with Father Gregory.
At least he didn't reach out and grab her cross, you know. And
He fingers her cross.
Yeah.
And
I think God is getting in the way of your investigating
he
skills.
boops her on the nose and walks out the door. Boop. Father Gregory is in the interrogation room still. He's praying with his cross. And a voice suddenly interrupts him. It's Starkey asking about the girl. Somehow he has gotten in the room. I will not be denied. So he's showing his true colors here. Where is the 4th daughter? The others were taken from me. And Gregory's skin starts bubbling and burning. Ugh. This is where Starkey's voice goes real deep. Tell me, Father. As this is happening, Scully tries to get in the room, but it's locked.
If we're meant to be paying attention, and I think at this point I checked out because I'm really only sort of getting this now. He's admitting that he didn't do it. He's admitting that they were taken from me and that he wants this last one. I will not be denied. But it's so wrapped up in, okay, wait, Starkey's the bad guy, and, you know, now my skin's going to start bubbling and all the rest of it, that I think, again, I only catch it now in this the 3rd time I've watched it.
Right.
But I think this plot's just too convoluted. I think that's the other problem with it, right? Is it's been trying to cast the villain, you know, Father Gregory as the villain, and now we realize it's not him. But then we realize that the villain isn't actually responsible. So now, who is the culprit? It is the Nephilim. It is the weird faced dude who's going to show up in a scene soon enough. That will be explained by Father McHugh later on.
It's an interesting way to go about it. I guess it's the best way to say it.
It's pretty sloppy, I think it is, but okay, I'm done. Move on.
Okay. Mulder and some officers arrive at the man's house. They want to search the premises for the girl. When they ask where she is, he says she's at school. Well, she hasn't been to school in a week, so you want to try again, sir? The man is very resistant, and he actually looks like a really shitty person.
He's been painted as a scumbag for sure.
Yeah. Mulder breaks into the basement when the father refuses to let him in, and he pieces together that this is where the girl was being kept. So he's a great person there. He asks where she is, and the father says, "You're going to stop the checks, aren't you?" Real quick, we get the idea that he gave her up, but didn't tell the government. So he's been collecting on her checks.
Never happens, I'm sure.
So he's a real scumbag. He gave her to the priest, and he mentions Father Gregory. Outside the station, Scully's walking to her car. She tries her key, but it won't work. Mulder calls. She tells him that Father Gregory is dead. She drops the keys and kneels to get them. When she does, she sees a figure near her in black clothes. A light shines behind him. His head goes from hawk to lion to man to bull. And then we get a commercial.
This scene I hate the most.
It's not good at all. It's like they had little Timmy, who is playing Father Gregory actually, sculpt these faces out of clay, and they look horrible.
Well,
I don't know how they decided on those.
Apparently this effect was very late in the game, like completed hours before airtime is what the production notes say. But
they should have just not done it.
I think that's the other thing is that it does not look good for the time. But my issue is with this scene in general. Why is it here? Other than to, I guess, make her a believer or make a cool moment. Like, it looks cool in the sense of what they're trying to do, but there's just a couple of things wrong. First of all, the fact that her keys don't work. Like,
I don't know what that's about.
It doesn't mean anything. It's not significant. I thought, well, are we going to have a moment where she's fumbling with the keys and she's going to get attacked from behind, or is there somebody in the car?
I think it is a severely clumsy way to get her to kneel.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
And it's like, okay.
This whole business of the keys don't work. I can't make my keys work. It's like, is that a thing? It's so clunky to have.
I can't tell you how many times I've tried to open my car door.
Right? And then she drops them. Okay, clumsy, sure, why not? And then the angel appears to her. And the only time this happens is when somebody's about to get smote and have their eyes burned out. So is this the end of Dana Scully? Is where I'm going.
Yeah. Oh no. Right before the movie.
Yeah, exactly. She'll get resurrected for the movie.
I think there's two real big issues here. Number one, like we just said, it was a really clumsy way to get her to kneel. Mm-hmm. And then it was another clumsy attempt to have her witness something that gets us the explanation in the next scene.
Yes, because then she...
Otherwise, there's no explanation as to who is killing these girls. Because the devil just said, I haven't been able to do it, so poop.
I think that they could have... I don't know why I'm even trying to rescue this episode, but they could have had the scene they're going to have with Father McHugh where he explains the Seraphim and the Nephilim happen earlier as a setup to say, it's interesting, that these girls, have these deformities and they've been burned in this way. I've got a story. It's not in any official gospel, but it talks
but I'm relaying it to you.
Yeah, funny, it wouldn't be the first time that the agents go visit an expert and he passes them some information which allows the plot to advance. But this, I guess we might as well just go into it. When Father McHugh relays the information about the Seraphim and the Nephilim, we're almost on the episode. So it's about explaining what has come before rather than arming the agents with information that they could find useful to actually let them do something. So I guess I'm going to harp on that again, but
the whole thing is just a little clumsy here.
I'm still stuck on why she isn't sitting there and genuflecting with her eyes burned out, other than the fact that she's not a Nephilim.
It's got to be because, like the Seraphim knows she's conflicted or something and investigating this, and he's showing himself to her, but instead of talking to her and letting her know what's up, he just shows his foreheads.
Pass her a note, do it old school.
Something. I don't know why he chose to show himself to Scully, or maybe she's just, as Father McHugh says, hallucinating this and half remembering a story she read as a child. This case vaguely triggered this moment, and she completely fabricated the whole thing. I don't know. So after Father McHugh describes that it is a seraphim who previously came down, fathered children with a human woman, they are considered the Nephilim, as we have said. They were never meant to be, and he has been tasked with destroying them, essentially. They aren't meant to exist in our world. From here, Scully leaves Father McHugh's place. She is intercepted by Starkey. He says they've found the location of where the girl's being held. It is, of course, Father Gregory's little rackety church there. They enter. Scully goes in while Starkey stays at the door. She's investigating. And when she looks back to Starkey, she catches his shadow on the ground.
Yeah, nice touch. Sure.
And in a wonderful scene, we get horns on his silhouette, his shadow. Horns from Spirit Halloween again.
Yeah.
It is at this point she realizes she is working with the devil, and she starts ignoring him. She's investigating by herself. She's trying to find the girl. She heads up some stairs, and when she looks down at her feet, she notices the girl underneath the stairwell.
I just wanted to say, I think God, am I crediting this episode with something? I think it's actually a nice touch that Starkey cannot enter this church. Stuck on the threshold.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Probably the only good thing.
Probably the only good thing. So he needs Scully to bring the last Nephilim to him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's enough juice in the plot.
Oh, no.
To suggest that she would even do that.
Right.
You know, like why?
It's just a clunky way to get her to be the one to find the girl first.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
all right.
She needs to be here to help resolve her story somehow. But
yeah.
She heads down, but beneath the stairs, there's a door. She opens it, and sure enough, we find the fourth daughter. I have a question about this scene as to why Gregory's keeping her here if he's trying to save them.
Because the devil can't enter the church?
That's fine, but in a paint closet underneath the stairs doesn't seem like a humane way to do it.
Well, maybe she locked herself in.
It's possible. It is possible.
It's not possible. The latch doesn't work. Yeah,
True.
It's an issue.
Scully takes her hand and begins guiding her out the church, not where Starkey is. He's calling to her and demanding she bring the girl to him, but Scully doesn't comply. And as she's heading the other direction, a bright light appears, and the girl begins walking towards the light. We see the figure once more. As Scully is struggling to keep hold of her hand, she sees Emily one more time, and she's saying, "Please, Mommy, please let me go." Scully reluctantly relents, and Emily walks into the light. And when the event is over, we see the fourth daughter genuflecting and deceased, the same way as her sisters. Scully is destroyed.
So is this a way for them to get out of future Emily plot threads?
If that's the case, I'm happy about it.
I mean, Emily literally walks into the light and is gone. So I got to imagine we're never going to see anything about Emily again.
Having to roll her out time after time would probably get, word of the day, clunky. But also the real person is going to be growing up and changing. So they probably would have to recast if they wanted to keep bringing her back.
Yeah, true.
And that doesn't go well with me. Yeah, so we cut back to the confessional. The priest says you believed you were releasing her soul to heaven, but you can't accept that you actually let someone die in the physical world. Do you believe in the afterlife? Yes. He asks, are you sure? I don't know.
I've been dead a couple of times, Doc, and I don't know if I saw anything there.
This may be what you were meant to understand, and can you accept your loss? And then Scully says tearfully, maybe that's what faith is. End. Whatever.
They had to write a way out of this episode, that's for sure. Could it have just ended with her in the church? Did we need this little coda? Other than it gives her a chance to be super tearful and chew on some dialogue.
Nah, none of it's needed, honestly.
You could argue that.
It's just episode, it's a way for her to continue to feel guilty and
feel some good old guilt.
Yeah, like she needs to mourn the loss of this fake child she had for the rest of her life, according to this episode.
Let's run down the list of people that Scully can be sad for. We've got her dad, her sister, her dog at this point.
Yeah.
Queequeg. Her fake daughter.
And pretty soon, in about 2 years, Mulder.
Yeah. Well, she already did mourn. Well, no, she didn't. She fake mourned him. Season 4 or 5. So, yeah, she's not had a great... I don't think this career choice is agreeing with her. I think she should go be a doctor like her dad wanted.
Yeah.
She's
I mean, but
gone through
that's
a
to be
lot.
expected, right?
You sign a waiver when you join the FBI.
By the way, your employer might kidnap you and give you science cancer that we can initiate or put into remission whenever we want.
We may also mess with your memories. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we can do.
Really?
Right,
anything happens here at the FBI.
I think my thoughts on this episode and that scene are pretty laid bare, but I wanted to note also Father McHugh's story with the Seraphim. He directly says that to look upon the Seraphim is to give up one's soul to heaven. Again, how is she still alive?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
which is part, again, yes, you're correct. The part of another problem with this episode is, does that mean we are meant to believe she did indeed fabricate this?
Well, Clyde
I mean, that's the
Bruckman-
only case that makes sense-ish. Right?
Clyde Bruckman says that she doesn't die. So I think she's a vampire.
God, I love that fucking episode. Oh, I can't wait for that episode.
It's a good one. It's just so clunky. I really wish they had taken a different tact for this episode. You know what I'll relate it back to is when we first meet Max, and that is, it's not EBA, that's, help me?
Fallen Angel.
We learned that when silly camera angle alien runs into you, you get zapped and die, right? But when he runs into Mulder, you don't die.
He Street Fighter kills him.
That's right. So I think that's the same case here, is that when the Seraphim zaps any of his chosen ones, they get genuflected eye smote. But if you're Scully, nothing happens. You have a cool story to tell.
You find your key and it works.
That's all he was doing, was he was fixing the keys.
Let me get your key.
He leans over with his crazy foreface.
You see a hand. You see a hand come from like above her, reaches into frame, hands her a key. Here you go.
You should use these keys instead, Scully. He walks away. And the light fades. Oh, making a better episode.
It's here where we would normally move into final thoughts, but at the same time, I think we've cut this one anew.
We've laid it bare.
Yeah, pretty much.
The only thing I would add, and a general reason why I dislike the episodes I dislike, is when the agents are led on a merry chase and don't actually do anything. And this is a clear case of that. You know, we learn things, we see things, you know, the audience knows more than the actors. At the end of the day, they don't actually do anything. And that last scene especially, like they're setting it up to be this ultimate thing, right? This is the last daughter. We've got social worker Starkey at the door, bring her to me and all the rest. But I don't think there's ever any thought in her mind that she would do that, you know? And it seems like all she has to do is not do anything, and this girl is going to walk off to heaven. So it doesn't feel like there's any challenge here, that there's anything that's meaningful that's going to happen other than something huge is in the works. You know, yes, this is a big event. They'll have religious PTSD for a couple of years now, but it takes a lot of watching before you can parse out, and you have to add a lot of your own sort of thought to it to get to that place. So it's complicated and convoluted.
My point that I was alluding to earlier, I just don't buy that, even though this is was technically Scully's biological daughter. I get that, okay? I don't buy the attachment on the level, not that she shouldn't care about Emily or that. That's not what I'm saying. She has no history of pregnancy or delivering of this child or spending the first couple of years with her. So the weight of her death doesn't strike me as something she would be like this worked up about, because it's not much different than any other child or victim, let's say, that they've come into contact with. It's not good. And I'm not saying she shouldn't feel something. I'm just saying like the level
It's
of
not 3 episodes
internal
guilt
struggle
is what you're getting at.
Yeah, like I don't buy that Scully cares this much about or on this level about Emily because she was biologically her daughter. Again, it's good that she feels that, and I believe that she should feel something because she's not a fucking robot. But I mean, I just think it's over the top with how guilty she feels about Emily. Okay, so I'm not alone in that.
No, definitely not alone. It's akin to dropping in a friend of our characters and then that friend getting killed off in the third act and our character getting real sad about it. But this is 2 episodes later and she's still unresolved about it. And even worse is like, as you say, the genetic connection is the thing that is supposed to make us go, oh, she's special to me. Personally, I think that the reason that there's any sentiment at all is because Emily looks pretty cute. You know, like she's a cute looking kid, right? With those big baby eyes. And of course you feel bad when she's there.
Oh,
but
for sure.
Yeah, it's ham-handed is the way I'm going to describe this.
It's just too much.
I think that it is literally a case of they had a lot on their plate. They had this movie coming up that was demanding a lot of their time. They had to do a lot of reshoots because I don't think it was working. And so that divided their focus. They needed to get a script. They had this story that they had to throw to Spotnitz and Shaban to try and do something with. And I think by that point, they had gone too far with it that they're kind of committed to doing it. And they, it got to a point where this is what we got. And hopefully your one-shot director can make something of it. So I think it was a real gamble. And I thought that they thought that they had something they could work with because the material was, it's pretty gothic. It's got a lot of meat to it. And they've got some stuff to draw in there. If they need to get tears out of Gillian Anderson for the scene, they can do it.
And she always does a fantastic job.
This is what I've said about other episodes, is I can't complain about any of the particular actors. I mean, I think that we didn't like Father Gregory. I think maybe he was miscast.
That's just me being a jerk. I'm not trying to shit on the man. The last thing I'll say is if the writers felt that Scully needed more depth by writing a child into this, I think they were way off base. I think she has been a 3-dimensional character since the beginning, and I've loved every second of it. So without Emily, she's still an amazing character. So I think this was just too much. Well, that is the episode, ladies and gentlemen. We love you and appreciate you being here. If you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
I'm not sure if my soul is intact enough to say goodbye after that ram-basting, but well, thanks for being along with us on this soulful journey.
Goodbye. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming. It's that time, everyone, the Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/magusmediaproductions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/magusmedia, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.